Okay, we will look at now that we've done addition, we will look at our next three operations on real numbers. We're still going to use our hot air balloon. So we've got positive numbers are bags of helium, negative numbers are bags of sand. But if I'm subtracting, rather than putting bags on the balloon, I'm taking bags off of the balloon. So taking away sand has a positive effect. So for example, I know that we can do these problems pretty easily, but let's just think of what they mean in terms of the hot air balloon. The first expression, that 7 means 7 bags of helium. And then I take away a bag of helium, because I'm taking away a positive number. So if I add 7 bags of helium and then take away 1 bag of helium, well, my balloon only goes 6 feet above the cliff. On the next one, if I add 7 bags of helium, and then I add, because of the addition sign, a bag of sand, because of the -1, I add 7 heliums and 1 sand, my balloon's going to still be 6 feet above the cliff. Okay, this next one, I add 7 bags of helium, and then I take away a sand bag. I add 7 bags of helium, I take away a sand bag, I'm going to be at 8 feet above the cliff. So do you see why you can cancel those negatives now? Okay, 7 plus 1, I add 7 heliums, I add 1 more helium, and I'm 8 feet above the cliff. So let's look at this in some other examples. 14 minus 2. I know it's easy, just humor me. 14 minus 2 is 12. Easy enough. 14 minus -2, that's 14 plus 2, which is 16. I need you to be a little bit careful about canceling those negative signs, and I'll show you examples of that later on in the lectures. I think it's one of the latter, I think it's lecture 2D. All right, -14 minus 2. This is the first one that I know some of you would maybe have a little bit of a hard time with. Those negatives don't cancel. That's like the hot air balloon going 14 feet down and then another 2 feet down. So it's -16. This next one, my hot air balloon goes 14 feet below the cliff, and then I take away sandbags. What happens when I take away sandbags? I come up. So I'm not 14 feet below the cliff, I'm now 12 feet below the cliff. I'm at -12. 9 minus -12, that's 9 plus 12, which is 21. -9 minus 12, -21. 2/7 minus 5/14. Now don't skip this example just because it's a fraction. If I'm adding or subtracting fractions, I need a common denominator. Multiply top and bottom by 2, so I have 4/14 minus 5/14. 4 minus 5 is -1, so I have -1/14. 7.2 minus -1.9 is 7.2 plus 1.9, which gives me 9.1. Okay, that's subtraction. Now multiplication. Let's keep our same hot air balloon. Positive numbers are bags of helium, negative numbers are bags of sand. What does multiplication mean? That's how many trips I'm making to the balloon. So I'm adding or taking away bags a certain number of times. So for this, I have 3 times -2. That means I do -2 3 times. I give the hot air balloon 2 bags of sand 3 times. So I add 2 sandbags 3 times. Well, that's going to end up 6 feet below the cliff. Easy enough. Okay, now then we know the next problem is going to have the same answer, but let's see what it means in terms of helium and sand. Now I'm going to the balloon, and I'm doing something with 2 helium balloons, but that -3 means it's a taking away trip. So I go to the balloon 3 times, and I take away 2 bags of helium each time. So I take away 2 heliums each 3 times, and I end up 6 feet below the cliff. This last expression means I'm going to the balloon 3 times, I'm taking away something each trip, and the thing I'm taking away is 2 sandbags. So if I'm taking away 2 sandbags 3 times, I end up 6 feet above the cliff. So do you see why a negative times a negative is a positive? kind of the whole reason I use this hot air balloon analogy, is to help you understand that a negative plus a negative is even more negative, and a negative times a negative is a positive. So here are my rules for people that like rules better. Positive times positive is positive, negative times negative is positive. But if my signs are different, it's negative, and kind of the bonus is 0 times any number is 0. Okay, let's simplify these. Pause the video and work these on your own. Make sure you can do them. Okay, 8 times negative 6, positive number times negative number will be negative, and 6 times 8 is 48. Okay, 1 minus 2 times negative 3 plus 4 times negative 1. Okay, I'm going to do my multiplications first. Negative 2 times negative 3 is a positive 6, and 4 times negative 1 is a negative 1. Pause that and make sure it makes sense to you. Okay, negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is negative. Now I'll do my addition because it comes first. Then I'll do my subtraction, and I have 3. Negative 3 to the 4th. That's negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9 times 9, which is 81. Negative 3 times the absolute value of 5 minus 9 squared. Do I have any parentheses? No, but I have that absolute value, and that counts as a grouping mechanism. So 5 minus 9 is negative 4. Now that I only have one thing left in that absolute value, I can take the absolute value. I can't take it earlier. I have to wait till there's only one thing in there. So I have negative 3 times the absolute value of negative 4, which is 4, but I'm going to square the 4. Now what comes first? Negative 3 times 4 or 4 squared? Yep, exponents come first. So we have negative 3 times 16 or negative 48. Okay, last one. 1 minus 2 times 2 times 2. It's important to notice that negative is not being cubed. It's not 1 minus negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. The exponent comes first and then the sign. So that's 1 minus 8, which is negative 7. So the thing to note, negative 4 squared is not negative 4 squared. Negative 4 squared is negative 4 times 4, which is negative 16. Negative 4 squared is negative 4 times negative 4, which is positive 16. So if you've got a negative in front of a number, you've got to do the exponent first and then apply the sign. Okay, that is multiplication. We'll do division next. Our rules are exactly the same as multiplication. We won't even be talking about trips to the hot air balloon. The only new thing here is that, remember, if you have 0 on top of a fraction, that's not a problem at all. That's fine. 0 on the top is just 0. 0 on the bottom is where you have a problem. You can't have 0 on the bottom of a fraction. It's undefined. Okay, so if we have negative 52 divided by 2, I want you to pause me and work these on your own. Okay, now that you've got them done, negative 52 divided by 2. Negative divided by positive is negative. 52 divided by 2 is 26. We have negative 26. 66 divided by negative 6. Now some people worry about those parentheses for 2 reasons. First of all, for please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, do I need to do anything with those parentheses? No, that negative 6 is negative 6. There's nothing we can do with it. So why are they there? Well, the only reason they're there is it looks kind of weird if you have 66 divided by minus 6. It just looks weird. So we just put parentheses around that negative 6 just so it looks just like a number and not like we're mixing up our operations. So positive divided by negative is negative. 66 divided by 6 is 11, so we have negative 11. All right, next one. Negative 16 divided by negative 4. Negative divided by negative is positive. 16 divided by 4 is 4, so we have 4. All right, negative 14 divided by negative 7 minus 8 times 2 plus 3 cubed. What do I do first? The exponent. What is 3 cubed? If you said 9, you need to be careful. 3 cubed is 3 times 3 times 3, which is 27. All right, what do I do next? Okay, I'm going to do that division next. Negative 14 divided by negative 7 is 2. Now I have 2 minus 8 times 2 plus 27. So I have 2 minus 16 plus 27. Negative times positive is negative. 2 minus 16 is negative 14. Negative 14 plus 27 is 13. Okay, last problem. Negative 2 plus 6 in absolute value minus the absolute value of 3 minus 5 all over 13 minus 11. Now please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. Are there any parentheses? No, but I do have a grouping mechanism. Actually, I have 3 of them. I have those 2 absolute values, maybe 4. And then I've got that denominator of the fraction. That denominator is kind of grouping the 13 and the 11 together. So I'll just do my absolute values first and my denominator because those are being grouped. Negative 2 plus 6 is 4. 3 minus 5 is negative 2. And 13 minus 11 is 2. Now can I cancel those absolute values? Or excuse me, can I cancel those negatives? I have 4 minus the absolute value of negative 2. Can I cancel those negatives? Absolutely not. I have to take the absolute value first. If those were parentheses, I could, but they aren't parentheses. So I take the absolute value first, so I have 4 minus absolute value of negative 2 is positive 2 over 2. So I have 2 over 2, which is 1. Okay, that is division, and in the next segment we will do our applications.